Arnold Schwarzenegger goes off on Jimmy Kimmel in an anti-illegal immigrant rant. Let's just say I did not expect this from Arnold.
Saying that Arnold Schwarzenegger is the good guy here, but he is on a rampage right now against some very evil people and making a ton of sense, and doing so inside of places that only he could get, like the table at The View or on Jimmy Kimmel's show in downtown Los Angeles, which is, of course, on literal fire right now. You can see Gavin Newsom's unfavorability in the state of California, that's the purple line here, is at record highs. Gavin Newsom has never been more unfavorable. He's got a 50% unfavorability. Gavin Newsom has torched the state, and now Arnold Schwarzenegger is torching Jimmy Kimmel. It's remarkable. Probably the biggest applause line that Arnold Schwarzenegger got was this long and beautiful answer about how incredible the United States of America is and why we shouldn't have criminal aliens in our country. It's wild. Very similar, ladies and gentlemen, to what he said on The View. But he also got a massive applause line hitting directly at Gavin Newsom. Schwarzenegger riots wouldn't happen if the politicians did the work.
It sometimes shows it as if the whole Los Angeles is a big war zone, which is not really the case.
No, none of Los Angeles is a war zone.
But this wouldn't happen if the politicians would do the work. Think about it.
Listen to that. Listen to the people cheering there in Jimmy Kimmel's little studio on Hollywood Boulevard. Jimmy Kimmel, ladies and gentlemen, getting his audience to roar as Arnold Schwarzenegger attacks Gavin Newsom. Wild times that we're living in. Arnold Schwarzenegger goes on Jimmy Kimmel's show, dumps on Gavin Newsom, and then begins to explain why President Trump's policies make a ton of sense. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there may be some things that you disagree with here. What Arnold Schwarzenegger is calling for is, and I want to preface this, what he's going to call for is going to be comprehensive immigration reform. So maybe Arnold Schwarzenegger is being trotted out to get like centrist Dems and centrist Republicans to get back on board to try and create some type of immigration reform bill. That's okay with me. I want to say that's okay with me as long as that bill is decided upon the grounds of the majority in this nation. And the majority in this nation want all illegals deported, zero amnesty. Okay, fine. Deport all illegals, build a wall, have zero entry for a long period of time, zero entry from third world nations, and then you got me. I'll absolutely sign on for some type of comprehensive immigration reform bill.
What Arnold Schwarzenegger said right there is not radical in the slightest. All that he wants are the laws to be enforced. He just wants common sense back in this country, but the Democratic Party, it seems, just wants to let anybody who walks through our southern border in where they can just pillage our nation. I mean, for goodness sakes, the man's approval rating speaks for itself. 50% of people in your own state do not want you in charge. That should raise alarm bells, and if you ask me, that number should be a lot higher because he's not doing his job. He's letting anybody into this country. You need to have law and order if you want to have a functioning society. So if anybody disagrees with what Arnold is saying, they need to take a long and hard look in the mirror because this stuff is basic for any society to thrive.
But that's the starting ground, because that's what America voted for. That's what the vast majority of America voted for and what they want. And this is the point that Arnold Schwarzenegger makes, which is, again, an excellent point. He does this talk about like deportation, how he was worried about being deported himself. Here we go.
First of all, I love having you here tonight because I think that you're a person who is trusted on both sides, and that's very rare nowadays. And I think probably Donald Trump doesn't want you to be trusted because I don't think Donald Trump likes you very much, to be honest. True? Yeah. So, but I think the nature of the media is to show where, you know, there's some guys robbing or looting a medical marijuana store, and then there's, you know, a few Waymos on fire, and to put that together in a montage and make it seem like all hell is breaking loose here. What is your opinion? Is that the case here in Los Angeles right now?
No, well, first of all, let's just be honest. The whole thing has to do with the deportation.
Mm-hmm. Yes, of course.
Of course, this is a very sensitive subject to me because when I came over to this country, I was living in fear of being deported.
Were you?
Yeah, because at one point I did a movie that was so bad that I thought that the critics would deport me. Would deport me and send me back to Austria.
You were
Hasta la vista, baby.
You were worried that you were going to be deported for creative reasons. Yes. So, but seriously, of course, there truly are families that are worried they're going to be deported. Do you think that people who've been in this country for 25 years and who have had no criminal activity whatsoever should be granted the rights of U.S. citizenship?
What I'm talking about is immigration reform. A comprehensive immigration reform will address all of those issues.
That.
Yes, and also we would then be able to hand out more visas, temporary working permits, permanent working permits, the green card, and citizenship, and all of those things. And we would know who comes into the United States rather than not knowing and having so many people here that we don't even know who they are and what kind of criminal activities they are participating in and all this. So it's a shame, the whole thing, because we have a country that needs workers, and when you look at south of the border, they want to work. So it's a perfect match. But let's do it legal, and let's do it in a coherent way rather than doing it the way it is right now, which is a disaster. And I told you, that's what makes me so disappointed that both of the parties do not want to go and solve this problem once and for all and create good immigration reform. The way, the Senator Kennedy and John McCain worked it out, and they had a really great bill there, but then they didn't go for it.
It's a great sentiment, but I don't agree with some of what he said. He basically said both parties did not want this to happen, when the Republicans' tagline has basically been, we want immigrants, but we want legal immigrants. We don't want illegal immigrants. They have been repeating that phrase for years on end. We want people to come in here properly so we know who they are. They can't commit crimes left, right, and center and get away with it. They can't get by without paying taxes. If you want to enter this country and you want to make a difference, you want to live that American dream, then you have to do what every other immigrant did. You can't just walk through the southern border and get transported to New York City, stay in 5-star, 4-star hotels at the American taxpayer's dime. We don't want that. If you want to enter this country, you got to put the work in, and you got to actually show that you're determined and dedicated enough to go through the process to get into this nation.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's there in Jimmy Kimmel's studio saying, we can't have illegal criminals in this country. And we can't have an illegal criminal process to get into this country that one administration lets 20 million illegals in, the next administration has to deport 20 million illegals. You don't want that. I don't want that. Nobody ever wants this problem again. I wish that President Trump could focus on other things than mass deportations, but here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Nonetheless, the top applause line for Arnold Schwarzenegger is a beautiful rendition of what makes this country great. And it's what has gone the most viral in clips like this. Schwarzenegger shuts down Jimmy Kimmel, who tries to go on anti-Trump rant. And just an absolutely spectacular explanation that only somebody who is a legal immigrant to this country and then grabbed hold of the American dream after growing up in a post-World War II Europe can say. This really is something remarkable. Enjoy. This is the Arnold Schwarzenegger Club.
Someone who has experience with predators, how would you handle Donald Trump in this situation where he is threatening to withhold federal funding from our students, from our schools, from disabled students? We are a state that pays more to the federal government than we get in return from the federal government. Is it realistic, this idea that Governor Newsom has floated, that we would just stop paying them the money that we pay them?
Well, it sounds always easy, isn't it?
It sounds easy, but it never is.
It doesn't happen because every individual in California pays taxes, pays the state tax, local tax, and pays federal tax. So how are you going to stop them from doing that? And then if the IRS coming after you. I mean, this is, look, yeah. I just want everyone to know this is all dialogue. This is rhetoric. The left going after the right going after the left. I mean, the bottom line is they should get together rather than always pointing the finger at each other. They should really get together and solve this problem, because that's what the American people want. They want to have this problem solved.
Yeah, well, it seems like our president doesn't want to have this problem solved. He wants to create problems here in our state.
I have to tell you, people always say to me, "Oh my God, what's going on in America right now and all this stuff?" And I said to them, I said, "Relax. I've come over here in 1968, where it was a disaster. I mean, even the most fantastic country, but I came over here, 1968, Martin Luther King was assassinated. Bobby Kennedy was assassinated. There were the riots left and right because of the Vietnam War. There were the protests. Then there was the attack on the Democratic Convention in Chicago. And then after that, there was Watergate. And the thing went on and on and on, where people said, what is going on in America? And we got out of that mess. So America will always get out of this mess. And we will get out of this, believe me, this will be solved, this issue. Los Angeles will always be a great city to come to. I'm very, very proud of Los Angeles. And I think the key thing here is that the federal government and the state and the locals work together to solve those problems.
People need to hear that, because people are looking for something positive. I think a lot of people are feeling disheartened and like, oh, things are not going to get better. They're going to get worse.
Let me tell everyone here, I travel a lot. And I just came back from Europe. And today, as much as 50 years ago, the same amount of people come up to me and says, Arnold, please, can you help me to get to America?
They do.
Because it's the greatest country in the world. It is the best country in the world. It is fantastic. No matter who is leading it and all this stuff, people come and go, but this always will be the greatest country. And this is why I cannot wait to celebrate the 250th anniversary of America, and to just once again say thank you, America, for, kind of bringing me into this country and showing me this enormous generosity. Everything that I've ever accomplished in my life is because of
I have nothing but respect with how Arnold Schwarzenegger handled this interview, because it puts a lot of perspective into America. A lot of these protesters say, oh, America's so tyrannical, we have a king. But in reality, if you protested the same way in any other country, you would either be locked up, sent into a gulag, or you would never see the light of day ever again. America is where dreams come to reality. It's where you can prosper and reach unimaginable heights. If you have a dream and you work hard towards it and you never give up, you can do anything in this life as long as you're in America. Arnold Schwarzenegger is a perfect testament to that. I mean, the guy was the world's best bodybuilder. Then he became an action movie star. He was the #1 in the world. Then he became a governor of California. This man is a perfect embodiment of the American dream. You can do anything that you put your mind to as long as you have that determination. My question is how anybody could sit here and disagree with what he has to say in this clip here, because he only wants common sense illegal immigration reform. He wants people to come into this country, but he wants them to come in the right way. He wants them to do the right things and actually be a net positive for this country instead of just dragging the country down. I have a lot of respect for Arnold Schwarzenegger. Has he said things in the past that I disagree with vehemently? Yes, absolutely, especially regarding the COVID and screw your freedoms, this, that, and the other. But I do hope he's turning the page and rectifying his wrongs, because that was an idiotic statement. And it just seems to me he's trying to bring common sense back to California, because they have gone off the deep end. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this down below. Who do you think should replace Gavin Newsom as the next governor of California? Let me know. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions. And if you enjoyed, make sure to smash that like, comment, subscribe, and wish you guys nothing but the best. Till next time.